Hey everybody,
What's up, guys?
welcome to the IronTrap podcast. This
Coming
is
at you kind of live.
kind of live. It's now a thing.
Screw it, we'll do it live.
We're doing podcasts regularly. So it's we've gotten into a routine where we're
Kind of a routine.
we're mostly doing it on Friday mornings. Has been the goal. So it's been working out for us, and hopefully you guys are enjoying it. So get all the normal crap out of the way. You can watch and listen on YouTube. And you can listen on Spotify, Apple, any of those streaming services. You can listen to our podcasts. And if you enjoy it, subscribe, comment, follow, any
Let
of
us
that
know
stuff.
let us know you like it.
Spotify is very helpful if you leave a review of the channel. It definitely helps us with people on the Spotify podcast world finding us. So
Yes.
Apple and Spotify giving us a review is very, very helpful. If you like it or if it sucks, whatever, leave it. But hopefully you like it.
Yes.
So we'll get into what's going on.
Gasket Goons is next Saturday.
So yeah, local show. You'll notice that we talk about a lot of local shows. So Gasket Goons is a fairly local show, really big one-day hot rod show in our area. Been helping the club for a number of years now, just kind of organize the flea market. We've stepped back a little bit from being as involved, but we still, the morning of, help just get the flea market people in their spaces and all that kind of stuff. So we will be there again, as always, right on the
early as
corner of the swap meet. We usually bring a car or two, and then we have some tables. Actually, our swap meet space has gotten smaller over the years because it's where we go there more to have fun and hang out than sell stuff. So we probably this year might even be smaller. We were discussing maybe I might just bring enough in the sedan delivery to set up our booth and maybe the tent. And depending on the weather, some years we don't even need a tent. But we may bring enough stuff in the sedan delivery only to sell this year.
And whatever I can stuff in the trunk of my car.
Yeah, there you go. So that's the plan. But if you guys are local, you can come out to that. Really, the big news is we're getting ready for Carlisle and Hershey.
Yes.
I've already kind of stoked. We already, I feel like we're gaining traction with us talking about Carlisle and Hershey in podcasts and videos. We're having people, much like Wheels of Time has happened, we're having people that either haven't been in a long time or have never been. Now we're going. So we have some people coming from out of town to stay with me, and then they're going to help us out.
Casa de IronTrap.
Yeah, Casa de IronTrap. We're going to have some people helping us just around with the mill, but also for Carlisle and Hershey, it'll be really helpful to get the booth set up quicker and taken down and just everything that's going on. It's very helpful. So we'll have that going on. Just different people I've talked to, like customers and viewers and friends that are from out of town. They're like, I'm making sure I go to Hershey this year. So if you haven't gone, you keep thinking about it, definitely go. If you want to vend, I definitely suggest, I complain about it all the time, or rant, participation is key. So these big swap meets, if you can come and set up and sell, even if it's for a day or two, it helps keep these swap meets going. So I definitely suggest it. It's so affordable to vend at both of these swap meets that, like, even if you just bring your car to have a spot in the swap meet and then set up for a day or two and you sell a little bit and it pays for the booth or you make a couple bucks, but it's also convenient, it's really great.
I mean, for reference, I think Carlisle's $95 or $100 a space.
Yeah.
And Hershey's like $150 a space, I think, or $140.
Something like that.
You have to sell. If you bring some okay stuff, it's really not that hard to cover.
Some people bring dollar items and do the honor system at Hershey, and they probably make over $100 just in.
There's multiple vehicles you walk by with the window cracked and the front seats littered with $100 or $1 bills.
Dollar bills. So like, I think it's a good thing. But either way, even if you're just thinking about going, it's really great. Don't go on Friday for just the swap meet. If you're going to go Friday, go for the car show, for the concourse car show. But don't go for the swap meet because the swap meet is a ghost town at that point. But Monday
will not be there.
Yeah, Tuesday to Thursday is the best days. Monday's setup day, and while there is a lot of stuff going on, it's not your best bang for your buck as a shopper because a lot of people aren't even set up or they're setting their tents and booths up.
And to be honest, a lot of people aren't even set up on Tuesday still.
Somewhat, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people that are, but Tuesday and Wednesday are definitely the best days for sure. Thursday's good, but again, a lot of the good stuff's been found, but it's still very good. So if you can make it, come out. We're kind of planning what we're bringing. We may bring different cars to sell each day. We have a bunch of cars right now, so we've been thinking about the 39 convertible coupe. Maybe bringing that to Hershey. Just got to see how our timing goes for all that. We have, as always, people interested in all these cars, but we never know how serious they are. So we just kind of continue with what we're planning. And if somebody buys it the day before, great. Mike, both of us were on little trips yesterday. So
we've now gotten to the point where we have enough staff and employees. We can divide and conquer and do multiple things in the same day without Matt and I, having to do all of it together.
Yes, it's awesome. So we split up yesterday, and Luke and Mike went further, and Steve and I went not as far, but we both were able to do two things that we've been trying to get done.
Yeah.
And it got all done in a day, and then this morning, we all sat around drinking coffee talking about our trip, and it was a lot of fun.
So the trip that Luke and I went on, that video's out today on Sunday. Of that adventure, we went and picked up a Model A Roadster. We drove all the way down to North Carolina and back and loaded in the same day. It was a long day. We left at 3 a.m. and got home at 7 p.m.
Crazy.
Yes, it was a long day. So that video's out now. At the end of the video, we go through and show everything we got and what's for sale. So check that out.
So we may be, to kind of loop this all back in, that's a car that we've discussed. The gentleman that had it blew it into a million pieces, but everything's there. It just needs to be jigged back up and spot welded or bolted together. So that's a good example. We may spot weld / bolt the body back together so it's cohesive and it's, a body again. Put it on the frame, make it a roller, maybe put an engine in it. And then that's a great car to bring to Carlisle or Hershey because it's a complete, it's a good start. It's just that in its current state, if you've never done one, it's a little scary with the quarter panels and everything, just like Mike's car started out. But
it's a flat pack body. You can ship it across the country and assemble it yourself.
But luckily, this is not one that someone cut the bottom 12 inches off of the car and you have to put it back together.
Model A's are much easier to jig back together from flat panels.
Yeah, so that's a good example. We have that
39 Deluxe.
38 sold, right?
Yes.
So 38 is sold to a customer of ours. 39 Deluxe, it's a 39 standard body with a 39 Deluxe sheet metal on the front. That car is still available, so that's a good example. Who knows? Maybe we'll take it to Carlisle as a roller, offer it affordable.
I wonder if we could get because we have that extra space at Carlisle. I wonder if we could take both of them and set them front to back, sell 2 cars at Carlisle.
That'd be great.
High fives for everyone.
Yeah, so they're gonna be affordable. They're gonna be there to sell. So both of those cars, if we bring them, we will be bringing them and expecting not to take them home. So that's the goal. But we're kind of gathering parts and getting ready for that. We've talked about it in other videos. I usually pull some stuff for the private stash for Hershey just because we like to have great stuff at Hershey. So it's always fun to bring some stuff like that. So that's kind of the plan.
I might walk around and pull out some stuff that I got sitting around forever.
You kind of do that too. You bring some beer or advertising stuff.
Yeah, I have some nailhead stuff I might get rid of. That's just been. I have an ejection unit I'll never use. I bought it. It was like, this is cool, and it's just been.
You're like, what am I doing?
It's progressively got piled with more stuff, and it's like on the back of a shelf.
I get it. So that's Hershey's a good time for that stuff that you're like, it's really cool, and I would sell it, but it has to be like the right price.
Yeah.
And Fall Carlisle and Hershey, because so many people are there, you get the guy that's looking for that injection unit for a drag car that he's redoing from back in the day, and he will pay the retail price for it. So, so that's kind of some of the stuff we got going on.
Carlisle spaces are N3 to N6, right by gate 1. Hershey spaces C4T 25 to 27. Light pole 33 is the easiest way to find us.
Yeah, that's easy to remember. The cars that we like,
yes,
the light poles are right surrounded around us. So you're in the right neighborhood if you see the light poles. And it's Chocolate Field,
yes.
If you're not familiar. So, definitely come by and see us. I don't know who's going to be in the booth working, but I won't. So don't come to the booth. I usually try on the last day of Hershey and Carlisle to spend a good portion of the day in the booth, just so people, if they want to stop and high five, say hello, whatever, show their projects. But do not expect me to be there during the week. Do realize that I am enjoying the event also. We've had some people that don't understand that and think I need to be a caged animal in there.
We're signing autographs.
I don't know what you guys think this is.
Yeah.
This isn't a fucking meet and greet.
But our new employee Luke will be there for a couple days at each event.
Yeah.
Manning the booth. So say hello, be nice to him. Don't beat him up too much on price, because he's still going to call me and ask for permission to sell it. So
and Steve may. I was talking to Steve yesterday. He may. For anybody that likes talking to Steve, he may come for like a day to relieve Luke, because Luke's also doing package stuff.
Yeah.
So we may have Steve. Steve likes going, but it's not his main job focus. So we were talking yesterday, and he's like, I still kind of would like to go like a day. And we're like, okay, like that's fine. We'll just coordinate it. So
I got to rent a minivan to bring everyone to and from, because we got 2 people staying with us visiting.
I know. I don't know how we're gonna do that. I was already. My father was asking about going, and I'm like trying to, in my head, I'm like, well, if I bring the stand delivery, that's like one person. I can't. I need to.
Shuttle 300 people to and from the show.
Yeah, I'm like, crap. I don't know what we're gonna do. So we may have to have, who knows? Maybe I'll have my father drive my pickup truck, and then I'll drive the delivery or something. Yeah. And they, it's just, it is what it is. And sometimes when we do these events, we have all these grand ideas, and then it gets to be like the couple of days before, we're like, man, this is such a pain in the butt, and then we just bring the pickup truck to make life easier, because it's like, it's hard. I mean, even with my father and I driving the Roadster last year, it's kind of a pain in the ass, because like I can't put anything in that car. I drive it out there basically just to drive it to dinner each night, and it was super fun. I had a ton of fun doing that. It's totally not practical for business. It's like it's not good.
And like driving in, you couldn't leave early enough, because then you'd sit in like crazy amounts of traffic. It's just, sometimes it's driving an old car there is great, but driving around outside of the show in the morning is terrible.
Sometimes not great. So anyways, that's what's going on. Make sure you can make it. We will be posting about.
Oh, also, if there's anything large that we have for sale that you are interested in, we do offer delivery to those shows.
Yes.
So any large sheet metal, hit us up. We just require payment ahead of time, and we will deliver it to Hershey or Carlisle for you to pick up. Saves us hassle with shipping, saves you money with shipping as well. So it makes everyone's life easier.
And we may know somebody, like if you don't know someone going, we may know someone that's from the Midwest that's going, that is a customer of ours or friends with us, and may be able to relay the items to you. So
the IronTrap Underground Parts Railroad.
Yes. I feel like it's a common thing anymore. And old cars and signs and all this stuff, people are always relaying things to each other. So that's the plan. So today's topic, after all that, is a good one. It kind of came up in some of our trips recently, and us also planning for the winter for doing projects. So we're kind of going to discuss some how to plan for a project, or how some things we've seen not good with people planning, because we do a lot of these estates, so we sometimes see the good and the bad of all of this, and then also just like the ways that I kind of attack stuff, because people seem to be fascinated. I've just recently realized that not many people can juggle 17 million.
Like zeros people can juggle. Yeah, there's like a 0.1% of the world that could do all the juggling that you do with personal projects.
Yeah. So that's so I guess I'm kind of good at that. So maybe.
I've known you for a long time, and I still don't know how you do it. I'm fascinated.
I don't know how I do it. I don't know if it's always the best way, but
yes.
Maybe you could take some of these little things from it. So if you're listening and it's, it's something, maybe you got a project you're thinking about starting, or you have a project and you're not sure how to,
or you're stuck on a project.
Yeah. It's also timely because of Carlisle and Hershey coming up. This also popped in my head because this is what I start doing for Carlisle and Hershey. We talk about in videos talking about Hershey or podcasts. I make a list in my phone and I start writing down stuff I'm looking for. So we figured to discuss some of that. So for me, when I first get a project, is the video out on the other car?
It'll be out on Tuesday, but we can talk about it.
So Week in the Life of video
yes.
Coming up. We ended up trading the 34 coupe from Ohio to a viewer who had a 37 Packard 3-window. He was a casual viewer after meeting him. He was aware of us. He he followed our stuff. He said he saw me at Hershey in a booth like a year ago, but he didn't say hello. But so he was aware of our stuff. One of his friends came and visited us and bought T-shirts. So like, but he doesn't follow us like every single video. So wasn't aware of like one of my cars I'd like to have was a 37 Packard. He got it, and then he's had it for a while and just tinkered on it and drove it a little bit, and then he's been trying to trade it for a 33-34 or 32 to 34 for like years apparently, or at least a while. He said he's been messaging like every person has a 32 to 34 that comes up on Facebook Marketplace. Do you want to trade for this? He's like, no one wants to trade for it because it's just kind of like left field. So, anyways, we traded for that. So that there's a Packard. It's really cool. If you watch our videos, it's going to be coming up. Just kind of excited about it.
Tuesday. So, check the video.
Yeah. So we got that car. So yesterday, Steve and I got back. Later in the afternoon, there wasn't a lot to do. So we kind of like around 5 o'clock, we sat and stared at the car and started talking about what I would like to do. And that's where like some of this podcast idea came up. I'm like, I kind of do this on every time we get a new project. I sit down just in a chair with a drink, and you just kind of stare at the car and take it in, much like I talked about when we did the Mercury or any project. You like take the time to take the car and like, what do I want to do to this thing, or what, So I usually will kind of sit down and start thinking through like what's the stuff that would be neat or better, or in some cases, what's the glaringly obvious things. Like you get a car and it's missing a headlight. It's like, okay, well, I need to write that stuff down. Like,
and also setting a goal, I think, is a good idea.
Yeah.
Like I want to figure out exactly what you want to build, so you're heading in that direction. Yes. Not like, I think I want to build a custom, but I'd also like to build a hot rod. And when you're blurring those lines, you kind of get confused and lost, and you start buying parts to do this style and this style, and then you just never go anywhere with it.
Yeah, some people need to like I'm pretty good with envisioning a car in my head, so I don't really need to like draw it out or anything like that. But like some people I've seen do that, and I think that's helpful. Rendering is definitely something that the high-end shops use, but like
old reference photos. Yeah,
for me it's a lot of that. I look at photos of people that have, whether it's old or modern times, have built cars that are, similar that I like. So me, like this Packard, me already kind of thinking about owning one. I've already in my head had a couple, silhouette of what I'd like, and some things much like the Mercury, some things that the factory I think didn't quite nail, but all that stuff is what I think about. So it's good to have an idea for that, but a lot of that is just labor. Like if you're going to lower it or chop it or, change the color or do any of that stuff, that's just labor. It's, you don't really need to like write that down.
A bunch of people just turned it off because you said you're going to chop it.
I didn't say that, but I'm not against it. We'll see. So that's so like you sit down, it's like, okay, I want to do, for me, the Packard, I've always wanted to do like a classy custom out of one, like Art Deco kind of classy custom. So looking at the car, it's like, okay, well, custom, I'd want to lower it, back end down a little bit. What do we need to do that? So you get under the car and you look around. It's kind of like, oh, okay. On that car, it's like, oh, okay, it's kind of straightforward. But if you're doing an early Ford or whatever with buggy springs, like, okay, I need a drop axle. I want to build a hot rod. I want it to sit a certain way. Well, I need a drop axle. So I start formulating the major parts I need to get the silhouette or, the main portion of what I'm, looking to build. So you don't need to go down as far as like, so I think some people get in the weeds too much, and they're like hyper focusing on what color shift knob they're putting in the car. And the car's like the one you're talking about that's like in 1,000 pieces, and you're obsessing over the shift knob. It's like, I think people get caught in the weeds in that. Yes, it is fun to go find the cool shift knob, but like you shouldn't be wasting time and effort on that.
Every little detail doesn't need to be ironed out before you even start on the project.
Yeah,
the major details should definitely should have a goal for what you want to go towards.
Yeah.
But like figuring out exactly, like, what style hubcaps you want to run. You don't have to find the exact hubcaps with the right paint color on them, just
unless that's a deal breaker on the car. But like, I think some people go.
I don't think that stops you from starting on the project.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people let that stop them because I look for the major items to get the silhouette. So if you're building a custom, really before you chop a roof or you change or modify things, you really need to get the car sitting right because that helps with the flow and dictates everything. So like really the first thing would be modifying the suspension to get it to sit better.
Which is what you did with the Merc.
Yes, I got it to sit better, but it yeah, I mean, I guess twice I did it. I lowered it a little bit just stock, and then when we went to do the chop, it was like we need to get this thing.
Yeah, before they even cut a single panel, we
dropped it down and got it sitting right. Yeah, and that dictates the flow of the roof because you need to do that, and that's.
And we'll also say it wasn't exactly perfect, but we got it in that like inchish realm of where it needed to be.
Yeah, and that's what I think a lot of people, if you're starting a project that there's just nothing, it's just a body, a hot rod body and, a frame, well, that's a good example. You need to figure out what wheels you're looking for. So I always just look for the big heavy hitter things that I need for the car or are kind of like going to set the shape and the look of the car. So it's like you just look at it and go, okay, hot rod, need a drop axle, or I'm doing a suicide front end, so I want a tube axle. It's like those are set things you can go and find. And if you're building the car and mocking it up to start getting it to look how you want, you need those items to get. I mean, I don't care how good you are. I'm sure if you got an Eric Black, drawing, rendering, he kills it. Like, of course, you don't really need much there. You just get everything that's in the photo. And I mean, he's got the measurements of what they're doing and everything. But like for a lot of us just garage builders, it's like you need that stuff to kind of get the idea. I've had many instances where we've had it at a bunch where like in my head, I thought this wheel and tire combo or this XYZ, and you get the stuff or I mock it up and you know what, that doesn't really work. I thought that was going to be cool, but you'd hate for you to be like on the other end of the project and the car's painted and you bolt those wheels and tires on and go, well, that doesn't work. I need bigger rear tires, and then you didn't clearance the body for those tires, and it's a whole thing. So I think it's good to start with those. I usually start with the list. What are the major items that I need to change or find or add for the car?
Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of, start going from there. And that helps with the process. And I think it'll evolve as it goes.
And a lot of times with the projects we do, since we have such a big inventory, that's why Matt keeps a lot of the better stuff, because we do a project, he can literally just walk around and go, oh yeah, that would look kind of cool. And there's a lot of trial and error of
100%.
Try it on. Nope, that doesn't work. I mean, I don't know where they're at in here. There's Halbrand smoothie wheels. How many cars have they been?
I've held them up to multiple cars, and it's just like, it's cool, but I've talked about them before in the other videos. Like I had them for the yarding car, and I was literally heartbroken when I mounted the tires on the wheels, rolled them up to the car, set them up with blocks, and stood back and go, God, it doesn't look right. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And I think sometimes people force a part onto a car, and it doesn't always look right because the part is rare or valuable,
or it's a part they've always wanted to run.
Yeah, and
they're hyper focused on that part.
Yeah, and I'm sure everybody's seen those cars that are like we call it a rolling swap meet, where the guy just put all the doodads, all the coolest stuff on the car, most valuable, or they obsessed over a wheel or a steering wheel or something. And I always think the best cars are the ones where there's no particular item on the car draws your eye when you first take a car in. Like my favorite cars are cars that like the silhouette, the way the car sits, the whole package takes you in. You're like, holy shit, this thing's amazing. And then you start taking in the details. Oh, it's got a chrome dash. It's got a this. It's got a that. And that's what makes the car over the top. And like some of my favorite restored historic cars are like that, So I think that's the Calori Coupe we talk about a lot. It's one of my favorite cars of all time. That car is a good example. It's just a black 36 3-window. Yep. Like when you look at that car and take it in, it's really, I mean, other than the grille and the headlights and stuff but it's just it's a very simple, elegant car. Then you start looking further and you look at the dash and the headliner and the seat and all that stuff. You're like, whoa, it's it takes it in. So I think I've had a hard time with it too, but like over the years I've gotten better. It's like you have to be open minded. So even though you want to run those wheels or those hubcaps,
I feel like E&J headlights are the number one.
yeah, they're
There's
one of them.
very few cars that they actually look decent. Sorry if you have E&Js on your car. Just a personal thing. I don't think they look great on 99% of the vehicles.
And I'm about to go down that route myself because I have a set of E&Js, and I think sometimes they look pretty cool on 33 fours.
Mounted down low.
Down low. I think they actually can work pretty well.
I agree with that.
So I have a set aside, and one of my kind of short list projects for this winter, I'm going to get on the Arden car. I need to figure out what I'm doing for headlights. So I have like 10 different sets of lights. Kind of think I'd like to run those E&Js, and I have a set sitting here. I'm going to mock them up, but it could literally be the same thing where I set them and move them around and go, doesn't work. It's terrible. Yep. I don't know. So I think being open-minded at that part, but figuring that out early in the process is way better. You don't want to get to the end and the car's painted.
Slide that steering wheel on, you're like, shit,
doesn't work.
It's too big, hits the windshield or something stupid. You're like, well, this doesn't work. Now I got to spend 3 years finding a different steering wheel.
And we have a lot of customers and friends that are and I get that way too. It's like sometimes it's more fun to gather the parts and the rare pieces to put on the car we have customers and friends and stuff people we encounter that they get so obsessed with those little cool knick-knacky details that like they just don't even see the big picture, and they put the dash insert in, and it's got these gauges, and you're just like, And it's okay to go backwards, but if the car's painted and done, it's kind of a lot harder to do that. So if your car's an example, you're like changing some stuff, but the car's not done, so it's not as big of a deal.
Like the gauges, I've kind of grown to just be like, they're cool, but I don't have the energy to send them all to get restored. And so I have other options that I'm going to explore, and I'm probably going to redo the gauge panel insert, and it's just like
it evolves like all cars. So I think that's a project can do that, but I think when you start out, I try and go down the list, and I do a lot of lists in my phone, and it's like this project car, it's like, okay, I need Kelsey Hayes bent spoke wheels I'm looking for this car because that's the look that we're going for, and this usually the tire combo we kind of know. I've been gathering parts for this 2017 Roadster kind of project, and I was actually put a drop axle together this week randomly, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll mount some wheels and tires, and I got some 750 16s off the top of this office here. I have some tires stashed, and then I got some 516s, and I brought the stuff down, and I'm like, the 750s they're huge, and I'm like, man, on a T, fenderless T, it might look a little overwhelming. So then I just got from Coker, they had a sale going on some of the Indy style tires, the half treads as I call them, like is on the Arden car. They had a deal going on the 16-inch ones, so I got a couple pairs because they're cool tires. Well, I held them up, and they're actually significant, even though they're 760 16. They're significantly shorter than the 750 16 pie crust that everybody runs, and I'm like, oh, that's perfect. It's still big, but it's like, it was probably an inch or so shorter.
And they're narrower too.
Yeah, they're narrower. So on a T, I think it's going to look more appropriate. And I had those on my head. That's what you put on everything, and so you put it up to the car, and you're like, I don't know. And then it dawned on me when I was doing the free T, I ran into that. I put the normal tires up to it, and you're like, oh, those things are bulky and tall, and and then I ended up putting those Blockley tires on that are chunky, but they sit a little lower, and it's more proportional. So this stuff has to evolve, but if you're at least kind of have a game plan, you're not just wildly buying stuff and then buying more stuff and more stuff.
And I feel like I want to mention, if you do buy a project like that Model A that we picked up that's in 1 million pieces, inventory what's there.
Oh, yeah.
And we all have smartphones. We've talked about this before. Put in your phone exactly what you need.
Yes.
Don't just put, I need a Roadster door. Mark what you need. Because all these estates we go into the estate and there's 7 passenger doors and no driver's door. It's like, oh, he kept buying the wrong door. Or it's like, you got to make a note of exactly what you need. We have customers that buy stuff from us. They're like, oh, I need a passenger garnish molding. You ship it to them, and they're like, I need a driver's. I already have a passenger's, and I messed up. It's like, you got to take notes of exactly what you need.
And I sometimes even will make notes of when you have a car like that, trying to find better
Yeah.
stuff. So sometimes you'll get a car and maybe the driver's door has got some weird rot in it from mouse nest or something. It's like you have it, and if you get to the point where you're heavy into the project, yes, you'll fix it. But like if I'm walking on Hershey and there's a nice single door there that's like beautiful, and you're like, and maybe it's a little bit of money, retail, let's say, and you're looking at a Roadster door and $700 for a door, and you're like, man, that's a lot of money. And you start thinking, you're like, is that the one I need or isn't it? And if you at least can look in your phone or look at your list and go, yes, my driver's door is the one that's rotted. I'll buy this door for retail, bring it home, sell the other one for $500, and now I got $200 into a nice door, and I'd have more than $200 in my time to fix the other door.
Yeah.
So like that's how I've been trying to be more patient. I'm really bad at just like anytime I see something I might need for a problem. I'm that guy. Like I got 6 doors or whatever because you just buy every one, and I probably could have saved the time and money and just bought the one I need. So even with this T project, I've been really slowing down, and like we just got all this stuff, and I'm like looking at the body, and I'm like, the body isn't what was described to me when we were working on going to get it. I didn't get photos. So when we got there, it was not accurately described. It's not bad. It's super, super solid. But I was trying to get a body that I didn't have to do 100 hours of rust repair. I was looking for something that was like either previously restored or is so solid that I maybe just do some little odds and ends. So I'm like, it's not bad, but I'm like, now I'm thinking, you know what? I'm not going to get to that car for possibly years. Maybe I just sell the body, keep the frame, keep the quick change, keep the pieces that are really good and harder to find, and then I just keep looking, because it's just, I'm going to run out of life if you got, all this stuff.
Every car needs 100 hours of rust repair.
Yeah, so that's a good example. That's on a body, doing a body, but we've seen that. We just had a customer recently that bought the black T-body I had. Again, I wasn't really going to sell it, but the person that we got this other T-body from oversold that body, so I was like, let me sell this other one because it's not as good as that one. But that gentleman came and got it, and he goes, I have like a running, driving fiberglass 27T hot rod. I just want an original steel body that's got cool paint. So like he was like 2 weeks later.
Yeah, I'll drop a photo in right here. Literally 2 weeks later, he sent us an email. I was like, I just took it for the first drive.
Yeah, we're like, holy crap, that's awesome. So like that's a great example. He had something that wasn't quite what he wanted, but it was close. And then when the right thing came up, he was up here.
Place filler.
Yeah, he bought it and immediately swapped it, and then he could sell his old body. It'll probably pay for half of what he paid for the real body, and he's got what he wants. It's just patience. So I've been trying to get better about that.
It's hard.
It's hard.
It's tough,
It
especially with how many projects you juggle to try and keep track of all the moving parts, and there's stuff in different buildings. And
I just find that all of us, I think, love the mock-up. That's like one of that I think universally in collector cars or the hobby. I don't care if you got a German or Japanese car that's like a stance car, and if you're boomers, you don't understand the words we're using right now. But if the stance cars, that was always the thing that I remember. That was like, you got these cool wheels with low profile tires, and you got some spacers, and you set the car down and you adjust the coilovers and get it sitting right. And that's like that's the mock-up.
Yep.
And like hot rods are no different. Customs are the same. If you're building a muscle car, it's the same thing. You get those meaty back tires that you're going to tub it out, and you cut the arches out, and you put the meaty tires on and set it down. You're like, oh, this is going to be badass. So like, there's this obsession with chasing the mock-up. And what's great is with our business, I get to
basically every car we buy, you get to do mock-up.
We get an outlet of that because this Roadster we're getting, like, it's easier to sell if we mock the car up or we do a couple days worth of work on it. I get the fun of that, but then I'm not putting in the corner and keeping 800 cars. So I think the mock-up is really fun. So that's a good way, because it is fun, to flesh out some of these ideas when you're planning a project out. So that's where you get enough of the major pieces to get the car mocked up, and that's a good start. And then you might realize that the wheels or the tires or the drop axle or insert item here isn't as good as you thought, and you could switch gears very early in the project. So and a lot of times, some of that stuff's hard to know until you have the car kind of mocked up. Even the hubcaps, doing a custom or a hot rod, and you put the caps on, and you go, they're not as cool as I thought they were going to be.
I did that with my car. I was going to run beanie caps, plain beanie caps with 40 Ford inner deluxe trim rings and outer trim rings, and then I put it on, and they just didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
But I also, at the same time, found 40 standard hubcaps.
Yes.
And I had both, and we put a beanie on one wheel and a deluxe cap on the other wheel, and we stood back and just looked at it and went, deluxe cap looks way better.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you have those multiple options, you can look at it side by side and go, that's the clear option that works the best.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So I usually go down the list and figure out. So like this Packard we're looking at, it's like I'm staring at the car, and it's like the one we have is the the poverty model for a Packard. So it's the junior, the 110 or 120 model. So it doesn't have all the fanciness. It's fancy compared to a Ford, but compared to other Packards, it's not as fancy.
What did you say earlier when you drove it? Rides better and it stops really well.
It rides better. It stops better. The steering feels better. Even with it probably not running 100%, it feels pretty strong in power, even compared to like a flathead V8. Stock flathead V8.
This is the bookmark where the IronTrap channel changed to just doing Packards.
Yeah, I don't know.
All the cars start disappearing and Packards only show up.
We'd have to get rid of all these cars, and I'd have like 2 Packards.
Yep.
Which doesn't sound bad actually.
No, it doesn't.
When I think about it. But like I was looking at it, Steve and I were sitting there, standing back and sitting back and looking at it. It's like, oh, you know what? Like the fancier, the higher, the seniors and the 12s and stuff, the 8s and the 12s, the headlights seem to be a little longer. They have a little piece of like a Mohawk Art Deco trim on the top. And I started thinking, I'm like, a lot of the like some of the GM cars and them, they did the same thing on their bigger models. And I'm like, well, that would be cool. So instantly in my list for Hershey and Carlisle, I'm like, let's look for some longer headlights with like a piece of cool trim. And if I'm doing a kind of custom, it doesn't have to be a 12 Packard headlight. Now that would be really neat to have that nod of, it's like putting Lincoln taillights on a Ford. Yes, it would be great. But in the end of the day, if I found a nice set of lights off of a bigger, Master Deluxe Chevy or something that has the right look, that would be cool too.
What were the other headlights you were talking about? Which ties into they may not look good on the car.
Oh yeah, we were set. So they, like the ENJs, they made these lights called the wood lights, which are like, they're like tombstone shaped lenses.
Yeah, they're wild.
And they're chrome, and they're just like super cool. I think they were just accessory.
Yeah, it was just, you buy them out of a book.
Yeah, they're like fancy accessory aftermarket Art Deco lights. They are now way more rare than the ENJs. Like the ENJs are rare, but there's a ton of sets.
I feel like the wood lights are the same way though. You see 2 to 3 pairs at Hershey every year.
Yeah, but I see way more ENJs floating around for sale on the internet.
That's true.
I feel like a lot of the wood lights you see are the same 10 pairs that are just getting passed around between people. But we were, talking. I'm like, man, those wood lights would be kind of sick because they nestle in with the like bulbous fender and the tall Packard grill. I'm like, they could be kind of sick, but they're what, 3,000, 5,000, 7,000, whatever people.
They're like all the ones I've ever seen at Hershey are $7,000 to $10,000.
Holy crap! I was thinking like 3,000 to 5,000.
No, they're above EJs by a lot. ENJs.
So I'd have a hard time spending that kind of money. I mean,
imagine spending that money and you set them down on the headlight stands and step back and go, fuck, they look terrible. What we can do is I could print out or talk to have someone 3D print a pair for you so you could set them on there.
What, how hard they'd be to 3D print? Yeah, I don't know.
But I guess you'd have to find an original pair to scan to get a mold off of.
Yeah, I don't know, but that would be that. We're getting into the realm of that hurts a lot to make that mistake. And the other problem is with something like that, they're actually probably really hard to sell. So like, at least with the ENJs, I feel like if you bought them, there's enough people that like them in the hot rod world that you could sell them pretty easily.
Yeah.
And that's how, when you go back down to talking about a Model A project or a T project or something, and you want to get guide headlights, and they're $200-$300 for a set of lights. Everybody wants those lights. So if you buy them at Hershey and you mock them up and you don't like them, you'll be able to get your money back, no problem. As long as you didn't pay $700 for a $300 set of lights, you're probably going to be able to easily get your money back. And we talk with a lot of customers about that they're hemming and hawing. And it's like, look, what we're selling it for is on the low side of what these are worth. You can easily take them to the flea market, get your money, or maybe even more, depending on how much you care. And it's not a big deal. So if you just think of it that way, that you're just trading the money for a short time for the parts, and if they don't work, you sell them off, get your money back, no big deal. But if you just don't get them, you don't know. So that, but those wood lights are, I don't have that kind of money.
No.
So I can't. No, I don't have that kind of money because I'm fixing a shitty old property right now. So maybe, but I don't think I could justify it. It's hard for me. If I knew they were the lights, I probably, on a car like that, maybe. I sometimes don't get super hyper focused on exactly what the headlight or tail light or item is. I'm kind of loose, so it's like Art Deco, big Art Deco lights of some kind, is what I'm kind of like having my wish list for the car. And then
what's good at Hershey too is you can walk around and you have Art Deco in your head. At Hershey, there's so many options of stuff you're not even aware of. I mean, even Carlisle, like that Nash light that you found.
Oh yeah.
That would be cool as shit on that car.
Steve and I talked about it. Yeah, Steve and I were looking at the taillights in the Junior, the 120 model or whatever.
They're very boring.
They're like just flat lenses, and then as the models got bigger and fancier, the lights got more. They stick out a little more titty like. So something like caddy, those caddy taillights from like 34 to maybe 34-ish, that they're real pointed.
Oh yeah.
34, 37, somewhere in there, or like some airflow or imperial taillights that are real Art Deco, like mixing some of that stuff that's more fancy on the taillight would be really cool. So because we're customizing a base model for a Packard, the stuff we're doing, you can take off fancier models to make it look cooler, and it'll all flow with the car. So,
and you're not ruining a fancy model. You're just ruining a base model.
I would ruin a fancy model if I had that kind of money. Don't get me wrong.
Watch out if Matt ever wins the lottery.
Yeah, it'd be not good. So but again, when you're starting on your project car, I've already started doing that. I'm like looking at the bumpers on it, and that car's been banged up and used as a car back in the 60s. It was when it was last kind of on the road. It was just an old car, so there's like, the rear bumper has got a bow to it because they probably just backed into something, and that kind of stuff. So it's like put in my phone like
Art Deco bumpers,
and I'm starting to think about like some of the bumpers I would use on a Ford maybe would be too small or wouldn't be that good on that. So now I'm like kind of like, well, maybe a Packard bumper or some kind of other, a Cord bumper. I don't know, but now you're getting into like the higher end models, and it might be neat to steal from a similar one. So when we're doing the 38 convertible, I'm like looking around, and it's like I didn't know exactly what bumpers I wanted, but it was like 46.8 bumpers or 41 Ford bumpers or DeSoto bumpers, and it was kind of like what popped up, and I held a couple bumpers up, and then the 41 bumpers just seemed really natural. I ended up being able to gather two pairs together, and there we go. We're off and running. So I think having a little bit of a loose plan on some of that stuff,
I feel like it helps a lot because you can get two options and mix and match.
Sometimes the thing you think isn't always
100%
the thing that works. But I think also a lot of people, especially in the traditional hot rod and custom world, they get so hyper focused on what, like we talked about this a bunch, where there's like a lot of the cars that are being built nowadays, we're all picking the best of some of the best cars and what they used, and it's like the safe option now. Everybody uses, I'm guilty of it too. 41 bumpers, that was like a common one. Everybody's running those darn things, and that's why they're hard to find. Or the 37 DeSoto bumpers, like everybody's running them because there's no doubt they look amazing. But there's so many other bumpers that were out at that time that other customizers used in the day. It's just maybe those cars weren't as popular. And that's when I did the bumpers on the Mercury. It was like I was going to put different bumpers on. And I started looking at them like, they're kind of cool when you suck them in. And, I left the front bumper guard and everybody's losing their mind that it's terrible. And I kind of love it. Because, again, I was looking at the fancier cars, Packards and some of that. They have those more grandiose bumper guards, and that's why I left it on. So, like, doing those kind of plain bumpers, but with the cool bumper guards, it all kind of works, and I'm happy with it. But, again, I was with this car, I was like, I'm going to put the soda bumpers, And then it was like, started looking, I'm like, these are actually kind of cool, like, as is. So I think there's having those options,
I feel like there are a lot of people now are very pigeonholed and narrowed of their focus of, I like this car and I want to exactly emulate every exact part that's on it.
There's a lot of hot rodding and customs have become so safe with traditional cars that you have to use one of these 3 bumpers, one of these 3 sets of headlights. There's a lot of people that are building cars that they have a formula, which is great because it helps you build a car. But the guys will have a formula where every car they use this same tail light on every hot rod they build.
40 Ford wheels.
Yeah, and I'm guilty of that. I love 40 Ford wheels. I feel like are kind of universal. You can put so much different. You could change the look of them so much.
And much easier. Like
they're brutalizing that dumpster.
Dude, that dumpster. They must have to replace it every couple of years.
They brutalize.
I was like, it's not Thursday. Then I remembered Monday was a holiday, so all the dumpster pickups are behind.
That's what you're hearing.
Give it 5 minutes. He's gonna bang it.
Bang the other one.
Oh my gosh! He only did that one that time. Normally it's like
bang, bang, bang. Yeah, I don't know.
Startling loud. What's crazy is it like scares the shit out of you in the other building because you're right next to the dumpster.
It echoes the building. Yeah. But so I think things have become really safe, and everybody's a lot of people are picking the same handful of items, and I actually have been enjoying trying to think outside the box a little bit. Now, sometimes you come outside the box and you come back to what really is good.
I'm doing that with the gauges.
Yeah.
I used their GMC pickup gauges in a weird colorway, and now they all need to be restored, and it's probably going to be really expensive. I'm like, I think I'm just going to run coffee needle gauges, which is
you didn't love them enough that you were
pay to have them
pay
restored.
the money. So it was like they were convenient and they were different, but there's sometimes when you have something that's so good, it's like, well, I'll put the money in because it's like they're epic.
Yeah.
But you didn't feel that way, so that's why they're.
And I might not even run coffin gauges. I was looking at my gauge stash the other day of what I have. I have some tulip needle stuff, but they're all 2 5/8.
Well, Hershey's the spot because I've bought full sets of gauges at Hershey, and you never know. You might walk up on a guy with Packard gauges that are cool, and you're like, oh, awesome. So. I mean, your attitude changes if you find a deal on some rare gauges. Then you're like, "Ooh, I'll run those."
Yeah, exactly.
I never thought about running them because they're normally $3,000, and I found them for $500.
Yeah, exactly.
But when I'm going through a project, I guess we should talk about like when we do these estates. You were mentioning before we started recording, we run into it a lot with estates when we get to. Unfortunately, a lot of times when we're buying. The person is either at a point in their life where they're not building anymore, or unfortunately they might be, passed away, and we're dealing with the family, and it's like the hopes and dreams, and we kind of could see how the person got in their own way, and the project never got off the ground.
Almost every estate we do, there's at least one project that he was like obsessing and gathering for decades and just never got to. I'm almost every estate's like that.
A lot of them are like that.
A lot of the estates are filled with, all the projects are like that. They're constantly just gathering stuff for, and they never just start on one of them. And it's not depressing. It's just sad to see because it's like they have so much ambition and love for the hobby and old cars, and they never get to enjoy the fun part of the hobby, which is enjoying the car and driving it.
Yeah, we just we went to film. I don't know when it's coming out, but we went to video for do some video promotion for our friends at Cabin Fever. They have a really crazy auction coming up, and we went and filmed there. And we went in this garage space, we're gonna call it that, and it's loaded with some of the best signs and gas pumps and neat stuff. And there was multiple cars in there. There was a Corvette, which he was probably driving at some point. Newer Corvette, let's say 70s.
Yeah, it was like
80s.
a C3, I'm pretty sure.
But then there was like a 36 Ford. There was 2 Model A, a Cabriolet or a Sport Coupe, and a Roadster. and they're all like packed to the wall, and all three of them were kind of like started. None of them. The 36 had no engine in it. The Model A Roadster had no engine or just a block in it and was just like a shell. And then the Sport Coupe or the Cabriolet had like smooth hood sides. It had some, street rod steering column. I think there was an engine mocked up in it, but it was like
No rear because the wheels were just, it was
Oh,
mocked
yeah.
up. The wheels were just in the fender.
Yeah, so it's like 3, 4 cars that are all kind of in, engines built on engine stands,
Yep.
dressed up flatheads and bangers and stuff, but like just never got, and like that was a person where it seems like the collecting got in the way of building a project car. And if that's how you enjoy the hobby, we talk about a lot, no problem with that. But we oftentimes, it's a sad thing where the family's just like, man, all he wanted to do was drive his insert project car here, and you start listening to them talking about how their relative, or even talking to the person themselves, and they're just like, I spent, like you said you were, the stuff you were just getting. The
Yeah.
gentleman was talking about how long it took him to get X part.
Yeah, he was. I think where he lived in the country, he may not have been going to the right swap meets. So he was looking obsessively for these different parts, and it took him forever to gather it, and he just never, life got in the way. His
Yep.
health isn't the best now, so it's hard for him to work on a project, and he just had to sell all of it. But he had all these like minute details had already been playing. It's like, but you had the body. You could have like just got the body assembled together
Yes,
and
yeah.
just started, especially with a project like that that's in so many pieces, like we did with my car. Just getting it together, the body solid, gets you a jump start, and then you can figure out the rest of
Right.
the details that don't really matter if the body's together or not. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. They're looking for gauges or things like that. That's the fun stuff. But really, in the end of the day, that doesn't make the car drive.
Yeah.
Gauges and things like that. So
Or
it's
your
like,
doors open and shut.
yes. So it's like, and it is hard to do the physical labor, or not fun to do
Yeah.
all that kind of work. But if that's the car you got into, you gotta kind of do that. So that's where, like, for me, it helps get over that hump because I'm looking forward to the mock-up. So if you're in your head just anticipating mocking that car up, it's easier to put the body together because you have something to look forward to, the small victories we talk about. So it's like, okay, man, if I get this thing mocked up when I get the body together, and that's all you're thinking about every time you're getting it together. So we run into far too often, or the person's like, we run into some where they have, like Mike was saying, they have 10 of a hood, and they're like, the family's like, oh yeah, dad was always looking for a better hood, and the car's still sitting there, and like the hoods they had were decent, but they were looking for NOS or perfect, and it's like, well, you spent 50 years looking for the perfect hood. You could have fixed your worst hood at this point and had it on the car. And now the car never got finished because you were obsessing over having a perfect, never repaired hood. And it's like, I get that if that's what you're going for, but if you never get to realize, you never get to enjoy the vehicle, then it kind of like that is a moot point at this point. So I try, and that's how we talk about a lot, like all of the cars evolve. So it's like, it's okay if, maybe the headlights aren't as good as you hope, or maybe the gauges you have, one of the gauges is faded a little more than the other. At least the gauge works. And if you can just drive it and enjoy it, you might find, usually what happens is once you put that in and you live with it, then like a week later you go to swap meet and there's that gauge. And it's like, the stuff seems to find you when you
It
at least
does.
expect it. So we hate to see that. So I think that's a good, like, I usually try and sit down and get the list of what are the major items, what are the major things that suck about the car, and like try and address that stuff. And I've tried to get better about, I jump around a little too much. So I've been trying to get better about focusing for longer periods of time. And we see that a lot with the estates where someone will get hot and heavy on a car and they're working on it real hard, and then they jump to the next car, and then 10 years pass by. And I see it happen myself. As you get older, you start to be like, oh, I can see how that happens to a
Yeah.
guy. Life gets in the way. So trying to focus to get to over those hurdles. So I've been trying to be better. That's why, like, the Mercury saw me do like the intensive only project I worked on all winter. But now I got the car to a point where it's cool. And all the projects we need to do are more like smaller, like you do a week or two projects. So if you are preparing for putting a car together, if you got something that's totally in 1,000 pieces, well, then you just, what are the big things you need to do to get those hurdles to get you to the, get to a plateau, and get those are the parts, and that's the plan, and maybe not focus on I think sometimes people get, the big picture gets overwhelming.
I've run into that, and I've parted out
You have that
many
problem.
car projects. And I was just going to say, what I used to do is make a list, but I would make the list so long, and like I'd find a scrap piece of cardboard and start writing shit down that need to be done. And I'd write this massive list of shit that needed to be done, and then I'd get in my head and be like, I could do this, and all this stuff needs to be done, instead of just focusing on the little victories. Get this done and accomplished. Forget everything else that needs to be done. We already know it needs to be done. The car doesn't run and drive.
You don't have to write on the list that you need to put the air cleaner on.
Yeah.
It's like, it has no floors.
Yes.
Let's focus on that. The
Yes.
It's obvious it needs an air cleaner.
The 34 Cabriolet is one of the last, I think I've given up on 3 projects, so it's the third one that I've finished.
Broke the cycle,
Yes.
ladies and gentlemen.
Woo! I might still give up on it. Still has time. Leave me on the side of the road and find out what happens.
Yeah.
So it just, like, I would get in my head of all this stuff, and like, instead of just focusing, like, I had a pickup truck. I need to get the rear. I just saw it the other day on Facebook. A memory popped up. I never got the rear set up. Like, I put a new ring and pinion and a new, like, differential in it, but I never set up the lash and everything. And then I jumped around to all this different stuff, and it was like, I never finished that. It was under the truck, and it was done. I, like, put it all together, put it under the truck, and it's like, well, I have to take it back out now to get it all set up, instead of just taking care
That's
of it.
the fun of the mock-up.
Yeah,
You want to get
exactly.
it under and see how it looks with the wheels on it or
Yeah.
whatever. But that's probably a good point I've tried to do in recent years. You have to recognize the stuff that's either worth your time, or if you want to actually finish a project, what work can you divvy out to other people to help you get the car done? And that's a big thing I've gotten past in the last 2 to 3 years. I probably could do anything on an old car if I want to put my mind to it. Pretty much anything. Like, if I wanted to set a rear up, I have the ability to, I have the measuring devices, I have the knowledge and the ability to figure it out and do it. But is it something I enjoy, or is it something that there's a steep learning curve? It's like, well, probably I should just pay somebody to put the rear together, like your point.
Yeah.
If you would have paid somebody to put the rear together and set it up for you, instead of you trying to do it all yourself, it would have got done. You would have paid a little bit of money. You were working a job that you probably could have afforded it, and then you could have worked on the stuff that maybe, the rust repair portion that you couldn't have justified paying somebody to do.
Yeah.
And it's like, you spend a couple grand and get a rear put together.
It's done.
And it's done. And
I did that with the engine harness. I was going to make my own. I'm an electrician. I'll make my own standalone harness. And it's like, I spent hours de-looming the harness, and I could have just went to Holly and spent $1,000 and had a whole standalone harness that was done and worked and just plugged into everything, and it would have been done. It's like, I got in my head and like, I'm going to do all this myself. And it was like, it was not a good idea.
Yeah, so I've tried to get a lot better about that. So like, even like, we were doing some engine stuff here at the shop, trying to get like, we showed it in videos, like we were taking engines and trying to figure out what the problem was, or disassembling and doing stuff. And in the end of the day, like, we don't have the machinery to bore a flathead or do all that stuff. And it's like, well, why am I paying Steve all this time to do something that's kind of like taking time.
It's a science experiment at the end of the day.
Yeah, and then at the end of it, you go, okay, it needs to be bored, or it needs whatever. And it's
the engine's cracked and it's really junk. We just spent 2 weeks of Steve's time.
Yeah, to figure it out, where we could have just sent the engine, and for $200 or $300 or $500, I could have somebody, machine shop, do the work, pressure and leak test it, and be like, oh, this block's no good. And meanwhile, I'm having Steve try and do it in between 10 projects, and I paid him over a course of 2 weeks to mess with the same engine. So it's like, or put a rear together, or all that stuff. And it's like, so trying to figure out what you do best and focus on that stuff. So if you're not really the guy that can or wants to do rust repair, but you're really great with machine work and doing all that stuff, well, maybe the flip side, or we've talked about before, trading with friends, or
Literally
finding
just going
friends.
to say that.
Yeah. So that's where that part comes into play. But I've just been trying to get better of, when I'm planning a project out, what is the stuff I need to divvy up
Yeah.
and sending that out. So the Mercury was a good example. I got the Columbia done, the sedan delivery. That was a way getting done while I was building the roof and doing all this stuff. And I didn't have to be like, oh man, what am I going to do? There's no rear under it. I can't
Roll it
work
outside
on.
and look at it.
Yeah. So it's like you try and figure out that stuff ahead of time, send it away, have someone else do it, and you just figure out the best way that you can save money on something you're good at.
Mm-hmm.
And we run across it too often with these estates where a person tries to do every single. They want to stitch the seats, they want to paint it themselves, they want to do every step, they want to put the convertible top on, and it's like maybe that person was a machinist in their previous life, but they've never done interior, they've never done paint, they've never done rust repair. So yeah, doing the machine work for the engine or any of that stuff, super easy, very quick. But then everything else takes forever, so then the project draws out. It's like they really should have just hired somebody to do the interior.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe had somebody, and maybe you're not trying to do everything. Maybe you learn how to paint, So like on the Mercury, it was like I've done a lot of metal work. So like the metal side of it was good, but the body work and paint, I'm probably a little slower and it's not as good as I would like, and I was learning still. But I wasn't trying to like my first time chopping a car, my first time doing body work, my first time holding a paint gun. It's like I had a little bit of experience in the paint and body work stuff, but the metal work I had done so much of that I felt very confident in the welding side of it. So like, but that's where people get dragged down.
I feel like we see it a lot too with the paint stuff. They strip the car, find some like bad repair, and then that's just the end of it. It never goes any further.
Yep.
Sits stripped for the rest of its life.
Yeah. And I don't know why we talked about it before like that Ohio 34. It's like, I don't know what the obsession is with immediately stripping the paint off a car.
Yeah.
And like blowing it into 1,000 pieces. It's like maybe focus on doing the like small victories. Like if you're gonna paint the chassis and do whatever, but like if you're gonna paint it, strip the car and get to painting the car, not leave it in bare metal for 37 years. So it's like we see too many times where it's a car that the paint probably wasn't that bad, and it's kind of sad. We're like, man, if they would have just focused on doing the suspension or the engine swap and left the body alone. Now, fast forward to the next guy that gets that car.
Would have been perfect.
It would have been perfect. It would have had like decent old paint, and you could have put an engine in and finished it. So we get a lot of cars that's like, leaving a car in bare metal is not good. I mean,
No.
Unless you got some heated garage, it does not stand the test of time. Even in a dry barn, you're going to get moisture, and over a lifetime of sitting with bare metal, it's going to get rusty. And that 34 was a good example. It was probably a very rust-free. Well, I guess there was some repairs, but like the metal was probably no surface rust. They stripped the paint off, and it sat in a dry barn. But with all the moisture change, there's pitting, there's a little bit of scale on it, and it's like now somebody has to spend countless hours sanding it all down to get back to where the car was, 50 years or 40 years ago. But yeah, I think keeping the checklists or planning it out. Sitting back and eyeballing stuff like we've said 100 times, that's part of planning the project that I think a lot of people don't do. There's no,
they're rushing to put the part on,
or take the car apart. That's another thing. Like I got that Packard, or we get a bunch of these cars, and it's like take a minute to sit back and look at the car. They get a car, and it's like the first week or 2 weeks, it's back to the same thing. Strip the paint, blow it in 1,000 pieces.
Yeah.
It's like maybe you should sit back and kind of just stare at it and see what you like, because we're into the hot rodding and custom thing, but I do think there's some people that have ruined good cars that they got in over their head, or they just jumped right into doing this thing that they want to do, and then they get abandoned the project, and like they started. We've seen it with like guys started with like really nice original cars, and they cut into the car and they never finished the roof job. And it's like that was a rust-free old restoration, and like even though I'm ruining cars like some of the purists talk about, at least anything I ruin, I take it to the end.
Finish line.
They take it to the finish line. The Mercury drives, the roof's done. I've completed that task. The ruined Roadster was back together. It's a driving car. It is it's done, so to speak. But like you see these guys that get a beautiful 50 Merc, you know, and it rust free, and they cut the roof and they get in over their heads, and then the car sits there tack welded together. How many customs do you see where the roof's tack welded together and they ran out of talent?
Way more than I would like to count.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, there's a lot of those cars that
You
they're
go on
like,
Facebook Marketplace, there's probably a new one listed almost every day.
yeah, just like and that's the term, ran out of talent.
Yep.
Get in over your head. So if you're chopping a car that's like from the 40s or 50s or 60s, mainly 40s and 50s, you should probably have some metal fabrication experience or a friend that does, because a lot of these people get in over their heads and they ruin a good car, and the car gets sold with some half-done chop, and then the car gets passed around, and nothing worse than trying to undo somebody's poor work and or see where they stop the project.
If you're one of those people that enjoys that, you're a sick human being.
Yeah, we have some friends that are like that. They're like fixing cars that other people fucked up for a million years.
You're sick and twisted.
Yeah, I can't do that.
No
But
thanks.
it's so I taking the time to sit back and think about it and attack the car in steps is going to help with the planning. It's going to help with,
The
even
final product too.
final product, I think, too. Now, again, I think sometimes people see these high-end shops to have a whole crew of people or are very, very talented and organized. Yes, those projects, they're taking the car to 1,000 pieces. They're sending it away to get the body dipped, and but that's not really reality for most garage builders. And I think they try and do that, but then it turns into a nightmare. You
have to remember there's 5+ employees in a lot of those shops. There's also an assistant that's handling scheduling of all these things. So like you're an insane person and you can manage all that shit with 5 different projects in your head for the most part. A lot of people just with normal life going on, because a lot of people are doing this while working normal jobs.
Yeah.
And families and kids and all these other things. And then you're also trying to juggle building a car and
Well, you ran into that with your car at the end trying to get it on the road. It's like the piecemeal working on it. There was stuff we had to go back and fix or redo that we didn't realize, and that was a small example of that. Now, your car got on the road, but like you imagine that compounded if you were just on
It only got on the road because you and Steve helped and got it along.
Yeah,
if I would have done it, it would just sat in my garage and I would tinkered on it here and there when I had time.
Yeah, so that getting over that hurdle or making the point to get those
Have
things
good
done.
friends that
Well,
help.
That's a good
Yeah.
that is a good help for sure. And I've been that's like one of my new missions in the hobby is helping friends get over hurdles.
That's your
and grudges.
I can't say that word. Philanthropy. It's helping friends get their hot rods on the
yeah,
road.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it's just I think that's the way I'll hopefully keep my project ADD under control. Maybe as I go to work on somebody else's project and I get that fixed and I come home.
Like this winter, we're going to do a bunch of work on George's Model A pickup.
Yeah, my buddy our buddy George, good friend of ours. He is a talented builder, construction builder. So he's been coming over to the mill this summer, a day here, a day there, and helping me knock out projects at the mill. He and I, or Evan himself and I, and basically what I told him is instead of me paying him money, I'm like, we're just going to tow your Model A pickup over here, and we're just going to spend a month, or much like Mike's car, we're going to put it on the lift, and we're just going to, what is the stuff that he never finished or half did, or I helped him do some work on it a day here, a day there, and like finish whatever that is. And hopefully by spring, it'll be like he can get in the thing and drive it. He's been working on it since like...
He's had it like 10 years, I think.
I think it's longer than that.
Really?
I want to say it was like since he was like a teenager or so. Like he's had it the body for a really long time. So like for him to get that on the road, we need to do that. So that's a good example of that where it's like he's always helping everybody else.
Yes.
He's one of those guys, and we run into a lot of instances like with estates like that where it's like the person was such a good person. They spent their whole life helping all their friends get stuff done or help their friends build a house and do all this stuff, and the project car just never got done because maybe their friends didn't reciprocate and come and help them get their car done. So I'm very conscious of that, and any friends that help me do stuff for free or give me a favor, I want to make sure that I'm paying them back in the way that I can. So with George, doing the shop work is the way that I can do it. And yes, I'm going to be kind of paying in a sense because I pay Steve. A lot of people think that Steve just comes here and, works for free, but Steve does get paid like a normal person. But anyways, that's the way we can get it done is through doing that.
And you've always done that, even when you're the Volkswagen stuff. You used to help people with overcoming hurdles in projects all the time.
I've always been that way. I feel a sense of, like, I don't like having a debt over my head, whether it's monetary or favors.
Yeah.
So I always want to be able to, if somebody helps me, I either want to be able to pay them physical money so that it's a business transaction, or I want to make a clear thing like, dude, I'm going to, and some of my friends even get annoyed with it. Our buddy Justin came and got, we didn't even show it in A Week of Life of.
Oh, no, we didn't.
We got to film that today.
Okay.
We should run over to the mill.
I got to go over there this afternoon anyway.
And I got to film some. Anyways, it's going to be in The Week in the Life of. So we randomly off Marketplace scored I've been chasing it for years. We scored a $500 32.5 window old stock car body that is hammered to shit.
Yeah.
It is terrible.
I think every body panel has been smushed back into shape.
It's terrible
in some way or shape or form.
It is. Yes, you could probably put it back on a frame, but it is terrible. It's kind of more like wall art at this point. But I saw it on Marketplace. It's a guy that used to build some engines for me and kind of screwed me, and we don't talk anymore. But I was trying to buy the thing for years, and I knew if I sent him a message, he probably wouldn't respond.
Or if I sent him a message, he probably wouldn't respond.
Because he knows that I have choice. He's been avoiding us for years because I think he screwed me on the T engine, and I think he knows, so he avoids looking at me at swap meets. Yeah. In the end, he wasn't even returning my phone calls, and I had to go get my engine. So I knew that was a lost cause. But it was a super cheap body, and I'm like, well, regardless of if I'm angry with how everything worked out, I still want that body. So we had our buddy Justin hit him up and go get it. And Justin came back. He was doing nothing on Sunday, and he came back and grabbed it. And he brought it back, and I'm like, dude, here's $100 or whatever. And he's like, you don't need to pay. Like, what? And I'm like, no, you ran on a Sunday and went and got it. And I'm like, at first I go, well, what's your shop rate? Because he has a mechanic shop. And he's like, you don't want to pay my shop rate. And I'm like, okay, well, here's $100.
We'll stick to 100. Then.
Yeah, I'm like, here's $100. I mean, it was an hour of his time. He ran, got it, maybe half an hour or so, drove to my place. We unloaded it at the mill, and it was great. So, like, that was an instance where it's a really good friend, but, like, I just feel this way. Like, everybody's time is worth something. Yeah. So you're either going to trade something for it, or I'm just going to hand you some money. And whether you give that $100 to your wife and she goes shopping or you go have dinner, at least in my head, I paid that debt off, and it's good. So with trading those favors, that's good. So when you're planning a project, sometimes maybe it's good to be like, hey, I'm going to pay XYZ guy to do the rear. Oh, my buddy John is a good painter. Maybe I can trade some work. Let me call John and see if we can maybe do something. And like you're getting the process started, and you're planning it out so you're not just like, you get to the point where the metal work's done, and you're like, well, who am I going to get to paint this thing? Like, if you at least got a friend lined up or a person you're going to do, or maybe you start trading John some of your labor years in advance because body and paint work's really expensive to get to that point.
Hey, John, remember all that stuff I did? Here's a list of everything I did for you over the last 5 years.
It might be better to have an agreement ahead of time. You don't want to ruin friends. But that's kind of how it just seems to work out that way. So I try and plan some of that stuff out. And that's where I do hit up friends. Or I know there's a part I'm looking for that I remember a friend had. That happens to me a lot where people will
happens to you an insane amount.
Yeah, people will text me that are friends or people that have been here and they're like, yo, I'm looking for XYZ intake or steering wheel.
Do you have one? It's always funny when they know.
Yeah.
They're like, do you have this intake? I'm like, yeah, you talked about it when you were here and pointed it out.
And sometimes if I have duplicates or it's something I'm not like totally in love with, there's been plenty of times that people have come by. I mean, we had our buddy Jerry that did the top on Pete's car, and he has the 34 3-window that came from Michigan from that big buy. He was putting the 34 together, and he came over and he's like, beating on a bush, but he was like, I don't know if he knew it. I think he did know he had them. Maybe he texted me, but he was looking for these chrome headlights, and it was like I had them, and he wanted them for that car, and I was like, all right, cool, whatever. I sold them. They weren't for sale, but like he came around. So
We're
like
gonna
he
get-
was thinking, he was going through his list of things he wanted and knew I had them.
Yeah.
And,
We're
or
going
he
to get
had
a
texted
million
me.
emails this week for people who are like, I listen to your podcast. I saw you at X, Y, and Z.
That
I
does-
need it. Will you sell it to me?
That does not mean I'm going to sell it to you. Unfortunately, that doesn't. More times than not, I say no.
Yes.
Because I need the stuff for me. That's why I hold on to it, because it's not easy to find. But yeah, so I think those are all good things, and that all kind of cycles back to like us having a large inventory of parts. If you're planning a project, even if you're really early on, if it's something that's hard to find, it's good to send us an email or a phone call or a text. And if we don't have it, Mike has a short list running, or a long list.
It's pretty long.
Pretty long, of stuff that people are looking for. Now we can't keep track of every nut and bolt. You need a I don't know, a passenger side sun visor for a 40 Ford. It's hard to keep track of that. But like if you're looking for Guide 682 lights,
We just
and-
sold a pair, and there was 7 people that messaged me about
yes,
it.
that's a good example. It's like, give us your name, and we'll try and keep a list. And the next time we get one, we'll at least try and go down the list before we put it publicly. So if you're putting a car together and planning it, kind of like we're saying, if there's some of those key items that you need that aren't easy to find, it doesn't hurt to send us an email or check with us. Or sometimes we have stuff that we sell that gets sold. If you guys watch some of these adventure video or unloading videos, we go, oh, this is already sold. About that's a customer or a friend that was like, the next time you get a set of those lights, or next time you get an old drop axle.
And also watch those videos.
Oh yeah,
Because a lot of times we sell stuff off those videos because people are paying attention and looking in the background. When you do those unloading videos, we can't show everything. It's
Yep.
just, it'd be a 5-hour long video.
Yeah.
So if you see something in the back of a video, just send an email. I mean, worst case, we're going to say it's already sold or it's not for sale.
Yep.
But if you see it, just send an email. I mean, also look at the date on the video. If it's 5 years
Oh,
old,
yeah, we get that a lot.
I get phone calls weekly of, hey, I just saw that video of all the X, Y, and Z you guys got. I'm like, that was 5 years ago.
the 34s, we'll get calls about.
I got
people
a call about the speed equipment stuff in Minnesota.
Oh really?
Somebody called. They're like, "Hey, I saw you bought a whole collection of stuff in Minnesota out of a basement. I need this air cleaner at this point in the video." And I was like, "That was a year and a half ago. All that stuff's gone."
Yes.
Like, when do you know when you'll get more? Like, I can't. I'm sorry, I can't help you. I don't know.
Yeah. When are you gonna get an original Thixton high-rise air cleaner? It's like,
I wish I could help you. I really do,
Yeah.
but no.
but that's where it's good if you're planning a project. If you hit us up, and if there's some key items like
Yeah.
that, because we do that quite often, where we may have an estate coming up that we haven't talked about publicly, and then we'll say to you, hey, we're going to New Jersey next week. I think I saw in the photos the family gave us, there's 10 sets of 40 Ford wheels.
Yeah.
We'll call you with the best set first, and you can get first shot. So that's why it's good. That's our little sales pitch, but it's we're only saying that not necessarily because it's sales pitch, because we get customers that get frustrated that they called Mike. And
I also do it at Carlisle and Hershey. Matt and I walk around and see so much stuff. Customers come up to us all the time and say, I'm looking for X, Y, and Z. And I go, we don't have it, but I saw this on the other side of the field. It was, it's a decent price, but there wasn't enough money for us to buy and resell it.
Yeah.
There's, a pair of doors somewhere up on the hill over in that
Yeah,
general
yeah.
direction. So we try to be as helpful to get people what they need.
yeah, we're not the guys that are gonna, you tell us that, and then we're gonna run Mike knew in the back of his head where it was. He's not gonna go buy them and then bring them back an hour later and be like, hey dude, just found these doors.
Yeah.
Like, generally, if we're at a swap meet, it's a different story. If somebody's telling us they're looking for something, we buy out at a giant estate for a lot of money, and then I sell you those doors. That's a different situation.
Yeah.
But we're not going to tell you about the guy 2 spaces down. We're not going to go buy it from 2 spaces down and then be like, hey, remember that door?
I
Just
found it.
try not to do that. Now,
Yeah.
if we find it on our own accord, Mike's just out buying, and we happen to buy it at a swap meet, and we're going to resell it anyways, and you walk in the booth and go, I'm looking for Model 8 coupe doors, and we have them sitting there, it's like, yes, we will sell them, but we're not going to middleman something from across Carlisle if we didn't already buy it. So we try to be helpful, but we do it even not at Carlisle. We'll have people call us, and they're looking for an item, and we go, oh, one of our other customers collects 35.6 pickup stuff. He buys stuff from us all the time. We don't have any grills. He may be expensive, but if you're looking for a mint grill, and
Gary Messinger,
yes,
3940 guy. If we don't have it, I just call, say, here's Gary's number, give him a call. he might have it.
And he does the same thing.
Yeah,
for
I
us.
get calls from Gary weekly from him of customers of his looking for like earlier 32 Model A stuff, and he's like, I don't have it, but let me call IronTrap. They
Yeah,
might.
so I think that's how the hobby should be. Even though we're running a business, we don't need to middleman every freaking thing in the planet. So if we know a customer or a friend or another guy that may have it, generally we just give the phone number if they're okay with us giving the phone number out or information, and we step out.
Yep.
I don't need to be involved. Hopefully we can we can put two people together and they can make a transaction and everybody's happy, and hopefully eventually they come back and buy something from us. That's the goal. So in the end, that's kind of the goal. We need to sell parts to keep the lights on.
Yes. Keep Moondog fed.
Yeah, he's sleeping behind the Mercury.
I was going to say, is he out there on the ground?
I could see his feet and his tail. He's right behind the Mercury, just chilling, keeping an eye on the driveway.
Yep.
But so that's our little podcast this week about a talking point that we kind of thought about. Hopefully it's helpful to you. If you have something with planning a project that works for you, I mean, we didn't even get as deep as into, Ziploc bags and label and stuff. Yeah. But like if you have something that's helpful for you that helps you get projects, planned and organized and then, obviously finished, we'd love to hear that because we're always looking for ideas to be more efficient and be more organized. And maybe there's something that we can learn as well because I'm always trying to get better at this.
Our lives are literally just all about streamlining and organizing.
Yeah.
90 all the time.
Just creating messes and trying to clean them up.
We have to go make a mess. The trailer's full of parts. So we're going to finish this and go make a big mess.
And then clean it. You just got the mess from New York cleaned up.
Kind of cleaned up,
and now we're unloading other
I had to clean that up because I knew I was going to make a mess today. I was thinking ahead, going, I need to get all this organized because I got to dump a trailer load of shit on the floor.
It's ridiculous.
It's never ending. Yep. Luckily, I don't think there's anything going on next week where we're buying a trailer load of stuff. It's the first time in about 6 weeks we haven't bought anything.
There's some stuff.
God damn it.
Locally, but we'll see. And anyway, so that's what we have going. So that's our talk. Hope you enjoyed it. That's our TED Talk.
Yes.
That's our shit talk. Yeah, that's it. So thank you guys for following along. Again, if you're just listening, you can watch us on YouTube if you want to see us knuckleheads together, see Moon wander in and out.
Oh, if any of the shows coming up, Gascoons, Carlisle, Hershey, if you have any podcast ideas, talk to us in person. We love getting feedback on the podcast, talking to people, and any ideas, send them to us. We enjoy talking about all this stuff together.
Yeah.
So
heck yeah. Thank you guys. We'll talk to you later.
See ya.